Okay, so today I'm pretty bored. So what I decided to do is film a bunch of B-roll of all my bikes and kind of just go over them in a relatively short manner. I now have, I think, 5 rideable bikes. I'm not entirely sure, but since this channel has kind of developed somewhat of a bias towards bike-related content, I figured it would be a reasonable idea to just kind of show all of them off. So why don't we just get straight into it? So this is probably the most used bike of mine as it's my personal favorite. I bought the frame alone in 2023 for the sole purpose of testing my bike repair skill by building a bike completely from just the frame. And it should be noted that I really had no clue what I was doing, and I kind of just modeled the bike and the parts that I bought around another bike that I was riding at the time. But when I finished the bike and I rode it for the first time, it really made me realize, how much I enjoyed doing this, being, building bikes and riding them. And it really just kind of opened up my mind to this whole hobby. Anyway, since then, I've ridden it thousands of miles and swapped out about every part on it at least one time. Anyway, talking about the bike itself, I think the most notable bits are probably the threadless conversion, which was rather difficult because it's a 1-inch steerer tube and there aren't very many parts available for 1-inch threadless 26-inch bikes. The main goal was to make it a very kind of all-rounder bike, especially in the area in which I live. You can find yourself on-road, off-road, gravel, dirt, whatever. And so having a bike that's kind of an all-rounder like that is desirable. But yeah, that's my 1997 Hard Rock. The only bike I own that was manufactured within the last 10 years is my 2024 Specialized Fuse. There's really not a whole lot to say about it. I bought it last year because I was in the market for a new hardtail and I had a budget of around $1,200. And it's funny because the absolute last bike on my list of ones to buy was the Specialized Fuse because the base model had pretty shit components. But then the Fuse went on sale and I kind of pondered it and I bought it eventually, started upgrading it, and I've got to say since then I have absolutely loved owning this bike. I put an 11-speed Shimano Dior drivetrain on it and I put a RockShox Recon fork on it. So it's not like super high end. I'm not going to be hitting any downhill trails on this thing. However, for my purposes, which is mostly fairly light trail riding and commuting in the winter, this bike is perfect. It does everything I want it to and more. This is my second Hard Rock, and honestly the much lesser ridden of the two. The only reason I have it is because I love the color scheme. The beautiful pink fading to purple with the yellow lettering. Oh my god, man. But that's not to say I haven't put money into it in the form of upgrades. The bike was stock when I got it, and it had base model 200 GS Shimano 3x7 drivetrain. I ended up pretty much swapping the entire thing over to Dior LX, which I had lying around. I also upgraded the contact points, so the grips, saddle, and the pedals, trying to match the color scheme, obviously. I think the best part of this bike is the tires. They are these Continental Double Fighter, which are just absolutely amazing. I took them off-road in one of my videos and it just felt so good. This is also kind of my donkey bike, if you will. I don't know if that's a term, but sometimes I'll put a rear rack on it with a milk crate and I'll kind of haul shit around. I have pictures of that. And I also use it to conduct experiments on this YouTube channel. It's also the only bike that I have 2 complete wheel sets for. But that's really all there is to say about this thing. It's not very interesting. If you look at this bike from 50 feet back and squint, you might be fooled into thinking that it's actually a nice bike. But once you get closer and closer, and especially if you ride the thing, you'll realize it's as much of a shitbox as all my other bikes. This bike is actually the only other bike that I built completely from the frame up. I bought the frame around the time that I completed the red Hard Rock. Unfortunately, I was, and still am, poor, so I never really got the project off the ground. until January of this year, 2025, when some extra parts, namely a wheel set, fell into my hands and I was able to complete the project. The most notable thing, I think, is the way that it looks. In my opinion, at a glance, if you don't really pay attention, it could appear as like a brand new bike if you didn't really know what it was. But in reality, it's a 25-year-old aluminum frame with a cheap steel fork painted to look nice. I will, however, say that I just recently did a 114-mile ride on this thing, and surprisingly, nothing went wrong. So maybe it's not as terrible as I think. So this is not my bike, but rather my girlfriend's. You may have seen it in the video I did on the abandoned turnpike, but I liked it so much and I currently have it, so I'm showing it off in this video. The goal for this was effectively to make a bike that was similar to my red Hard Rock, but for her, like her own version of that. And so we found this bike complete on Facebook Marketplace for $120. She bought it, and since then we've been working on it. It's not a complete build yet. Like, obviously the saddle has to go, definitely. The tires, I'd like to make them match, and same with the brakes. As of right now, it's just kind of a work in progress, but it does ride pretty good. The drivetrain is finished. For the most part, the cockpit is finished, the pedals, but it's not my bike, so let's move on to the next one. Yeah, so this is the very, very large one. It's the 1992 Santana Arriva Tandem. I did make a video on this a little while ago, just like repairing it, cleaning it up kind of thing. But yes, this is my Tandem. I never thought I'd actually own one, let alone one that's like this nice. I mean, this is handmade in California, you know what I mean? Just curious about some of the specs on it. The group set is a mix of, I think it's a mix of Dior XT, and Dura Ace. Lily and I try to get out on this thing as much as possible. It's just a little difficult because it's very, very large. It's oftentimes much more enticing to just use two separate bikes. But hey, this thing is a good bit of fun to ride. As for what I've done to it, not very much. I put new tires on it, put new bar tape on it, and I put new chains on it, and I think that's about it. I don't think I did very much else. I think even the cables are original. That's the Tandem, and that's actually all the bikes that I currently own that are rideable. So yeah, of course I do have a bunch of extra stuff in storage. I have a couple frames, tons of parts, stuff like that. Stuff I'm not going to show in this video, but that's all I've got for today. So yeah, see ya.